Hello, my name is Natalie Twyman, and today I'll be talking about the Plodia interpunctella, which is more commonly known as the Indian meal moth.
Hi, my name is Sydney Wilson, and the insect I'm defending is the Tribolian castaneum, also known as the red flour beetle. Our debate topic is which would cause the greatest infestation or losses.
The Indian meal moth has 4 life stages: eggs, larvae, pupae, and adults. Eggs are usually laid on the larval food source and take on a grayish-white color. Larvae are 1/2 inches long and have 5 pairs of well-developed legs, and usually have an off-white color. Larvae pupate either in a silken cocoon or under no protection at all. Pupae are usually 1/4 to 2/5 inches long and take on a brown color. Adults are able to fly aimlessly and are very attracted to light and sugary fruits. The typical life cycle for an Indian meal moth is 4 to 55 days. Mature females lay 100 to 300 eggs on food materials, and the larvae hatch within 2 to 14 days, depending on the environmental conditions. These pests are widely known for their tendencies to be found in different types of foods. Their larvae are generally found in grain products, seeds, dried fruit, dog food, spices, and fruit juices. They often fly towards light and are more active at night. These moths have siphoning mouthparts, meaning they cannot chew through food packages, so they enter through a hole or an open seam. Direct damage to grain is the biggest problem that human society faces. The biggest impact would be the threat to the grain industry. Larvae leave droppings and silken webs that they leave behind, which causes the batch to be contaminated and no longer sellable. This species is called the Indian meal moth because it was first discovered in the meal made of Indian corn. It can also be known as the pantry moth. These pests are nocturnal and extremely hard to get rid of because of their reproduction rate and because they can crawl into dark, inconspicuous places besides the pantry, such as other rooms or even the ceiling. The life function of the Indian meal moth is reproduction. They make webs in the food products that they infest. They are mostly nocturnal and attracted to light. Ways to get rid of them are to call a professional exterminator or to do it yourself by making your own pesticide spray using items like onions, garlic, hot pepper, and soap. There's also something called moth traps, which trap the moths in a sort of sticky substance. These traps can be found at places like Lowe's. It is safe to say that these pests are not easy to get rid of, so it is best to keep your food packages secure.
Okay, to start off, the red flour beetle is a reddish-brown color and is usually 1/10 to 1/8 of an inch long. The head is visible from above and it also has curved sides. To make eating and living easier, they have chewing mouthparts along with the ability to disperse considerable distances by flight. Their life history includes a long life of up to 3 years. Females lay 300 to 400 eggs in the flour or other foods, and then they hatch 5 to 12 days later. The total life cycle ends up being around 7 to 12 weeks. The behavior of the red flour beetle includes engaging in polyandrous mating behavior, which is where the female mates with multiple mates. This contributes to the high birth rates. The beetles primarily attack milled grain products like flour and cereal, where they can eat it and then live in it. Because of their large population, large birth rate, and long lifespan, they can be quite a nuisance and therefore thrive indoors. All in all, their impact on human society is a nuisance and infestation. They contaminate the grain, which leads to fumigation if the area isn't correctly sanitized. The horrible smell and taste caused by infestation can result in poor consumption by livestock and even rejection by grain buyers. The red flour beetle has the ability to fly also. They are believed to have Indo-Australian roots and prefer temperate areas, but can survive colder temperatures as well. They get their name because they commonly infest flour and other grains.
The Indian meal moth does not have chewing mouthparts, however, it does have siphoning mouthparts. Because of the siphoning mouthparts, the moth is able to suck or siphon substances into their bodies. This process can be related to the process of a person drinking something with a straw. Siphoning mouthparts are exclusively found in insects such as moths and butterflies. Interestingly enough, immature moths actually have chewing mouthparts, but those change into siphoning mouthparts when the insect becomes an adult.
Although I can see how having siphoning mouthparts could be beneficial, to cause the bigger infestation, the insect would need to have chewing mouthparts. Beetles can find food that is well hidden and protected. Their strong mouth parts allow them to access food that is stored in plastic bags or boxes. They only need the scent of food to decide if it's worth their while to get inside. This way, they can actually target homes from the outside and then invade.
I can understand why it would be more beneficial for an insect to have chewing mouth parts in order to cause an infestation. It looks like the red flour beetle wins on that one. Although, did you know that the mature female Indian meal moths produce around 100 to 300 eggs? These eggs usually take around 2 to 14 days to hatch, and the moth has a 55-day lifespan.
I can see how you would think that an infestation would be larger, but the red flour beetle actually reproduces at a higher rate. The adult female beetles produce 300 to 400 eggs, which hatch in 5 to 12 days. So the turnover rate on average for new red flour beetles is higher than the Indian meal moth. To go along with the high birth rate, the beetles end up living anywhere from 3 to 5 years, which is much longer than a mere 55 days.
The Indian meal moth would cause a great infestation for people's pantries and for people in the grain industry. The main goal of the Indian meal moth is to reproduce, which they do so at a fairly high rate. Adult females lay 100 to 300 eggs at a time, and the eggs mature within 2 to 14 days. These moths cause great infestation because they leave droppings and silken webs in almost all food products that they come in contact with. These insects also have the ability to fly, so that makes them that much harder to get rid of.
The red flour beetle would cause the greatest infestation because of their high birth rate of 300 to 400 eggs per female every 5 to 12 days. They also have a long lifespan of 3 whole years and up to 5, compared to the Indian meal moth of only several weeks. The beetle has chewing mouth parts that enable it to get more food by chewing through and then infesting more product. They create problems with grain sales and livestock consumption due to their infestation of the grains. In conclusion, the red flour beetle would be a terrible nuisance and injurious insect pest that you could ever have in your home.
Yeah.